Alan Phillips. I'm a senior consultant here at Implementation Specialist. And today we'd like to talk about some of the streamlined processes that we can do with Microsoft Dynamics 365. The whole point of this is employees don't have to use different document management solutions to do their work. By doing it within the D365 work, of course, we have our everyday tools like Office, our Outlook to send the emails, schedule activities. We can use this to request approvals and just do a lot of automation. Some of the automation points that we've did a lot with are we notify salespeople when a customer contract might be due for renewal. You can do this and you can send personalized emails so that you don't have to go out and manually do those every time. We'll show you how those get set up. Maybe if you're using the support cases and things like that within CRM, you can get a email as a customer when the support case is opened or when it's closed. Any of you who have worked with us and have opened a case have probably gotten an email or two like that. Other things could be assigning accounts to correct sales team based on a territory. It could be moving a lead to an opportunity. Again, just a lot of stuff that can be done. So what is a workflow? Workflow basically is it's an automated business process that doesn't need user interface. So basically, you can tell the workflow when to start. You can suggest whether it runs full-time, or excuse me, real-time or in the background flow, what actions should be done, and under what conditions can that be. So I'm going to just show you a couple of examples here from the front end that can trigger a workflow, and then we'll go in and look at really what it takes to create one. So ABC Trucking is a GP customer, not of ours, of course, just a Fabricam. And in there, we like to know when their renewal date is for their subscriptions or their plans and things like that, so that, just like you would, you don't want to be dropped with hey, your bill's due tomorrow. So maybe we set up a 30 days, so 30 days prior to something like a renewal date. If this said that we're going to renew 12/15/2021, we would probably send some sort of notification out back in November. So we'll show you how we can trigger off of a field like this. Some of the other things that we can do is like on a lead. When a lead gets transferred to an opportunity like this one, and once they're qualified, we can actually kick off an email to either that person or to the sales rep or different things along those lines. Another thing that I want to show you, and anyone who came to the session at GPUG, a time off request. If I come in here and I fill a time off request, so just to show you, is I'm going to do a new one. Whoops, sorry. I'm going to do a new one. I'm going to say that the employee is Alan. We'll say I'm the A team. And I want to take off from the 27th through the 31st. Reason, PTO, unpaid other. Again, this is all something that we've just customized for demo sakes, but there's a lot of stuff you can do in here. Once I save and close it, then what's going to happen is, there is a possibility, depending on how you set it up, that once these get opened, that there's a spot where you go and you can actually see them run. And I'll show you a couple of those type of things where you can see how the flow would notify you right away without you having to do anything. So we're going to start with like on an opportunity. And this opportunity is just an opportunity. It could be anything there is out there. So if I was doing ABC training, excuse me, I'm going to take this lead and I actually want to do something like this. So on here is I tied an opportunity to this. By the time the opportunity was tied to it, is it actually creates a workflow. It actually creates a workflow that can either A, add like this to a lead to a mailing list. It could add a status up here to a lead, like is this in a qualified? So is the lead, let's, like is the lead qualified? Can the lead be disqualified? Is it just being shut off? Is it good? Basically, you could have it so that when you activate the lead, meaning that you've qualified it, that's what will turn it into an opportunity. Now, I'm going to do one from scratch just because this is not showing me what I wanted it to show. So if I was to come in here and I go something like, and I'm not sure why this is doing this. So let me get into it a different way. I apologize for that. If we go to the process, we'll go straight to the process. So a process is a workflow. Now the workflow is something that, again, you can give it a group of actions that need to be taken. And let me get this. Give me just a second here. I don't know what's going on with this. Okay. So I've got a process here called a renewal email. Now the renewal email, like in the first case we showed, is we're telling it that when a record field changes, in this case, the record view I'm looking for is a renewal date. So when this renewal date changes, I want it to trigger off an action down here. So I'm giving it my action point here, or not my action point, more of my, what do I trigger off of? So again, if you remember, you need a trigger point, then you need possibly a condition, and then an action. So the renewal date is my trigger. On here, as you can see, if the account renewal date is on or after 12/1/2021, then what I want to do is I want to do an email renewal. And what that means is I can tell it here in the system, I want you to send an email to, maybe it's the primary contact email. The subject, I want to say renewal notice. And then I just want some text in there. So I want to thank you for working with us. Your prescription is set to renew on. And then I can actually take the date from the account that we showed and drop it in here so that it would actually say your subscription will renew on 12/15/2021. And any additional information you want to put in here can be done. Once you do that, and then you actually activate this, the minute that happens and it changes, and this is the difference between a real-time flow and a back-time flow. So real-time flow means do it right now. As soon as this condition is created, send the email. Some people like to put these to where they become background process flows because maybe they only want to do them every 15 minutes, every half hour. Maybe it's something like this that they say, hey, this one's going to kick off at 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock in the night when no one's in the system. The reason that is if, let's say that you had 1,000 people you were renewing at once, and you sent all the emails out during the daytime, like in a live time event, you might bring down the performance of your system. You know, that's when you might see delays and bogs. So some of the bigger events will actually, we like to make them occur after the fact. Now, this one right here is not going to do it, but then when you hit the process sessions here, you would be able to see a list of all the times it processed. Now, what do I mean by that? What I mean by that is I'm going to show you one where it does have some information. So we talked about the time off. So I'm just going to do a search for time. Is it request time? Nope. Okay. Sorry. Again, it wouldn't be a good demo or webinar if we didn't have a couple hiccups like this. So we're going to find Jerica, and let's say that we're going to do a time off request. So the process flows from a time off request. These are basically saying, as long as I go in to the form that we created and I give it a request time off request date, then I want to create a message. That message then sends an email. In this case, we're sending it to my manager. And I'm saying, here's a time off request. And again, the stuff in black is what I've actually typed in as text. Anything in yellow with the, and I really don't have a good word for them. They're not the open parentheses, but they're just a little bit more, as you can see here. Those are just like it was if you were using it from a Word template or something like that, where you're inserting fields from the database into a string of stuff that you've written. So you can title it what you want, but then actually pull the information directly from the process that you were looking at and working on. Then we're saying that as long as it succeeds, so it's looking for, if the status said succeed, I'm telling it to quit. If not, I could tell it to go through a different process than that again. Here you'll see I'm doing it as the record is created. So I can start it when the record's created. You can start a workflow if a status changes. Maybe the status is from prospect to customer, from lead to opportunity. I can do it when a record is assigned. So when that a record is assigned to a specific customer, that's how we can send an email to that customer saying your case has been open or your case has been closed. Or when a field changes, as in you've made a change to something. So maybe I updated a field, or even when it's deleted. So those things happen there. It also, though, keeps a process session of all the processes that were happening. Now, this right here means that back in these days, these were triggered off. And again, I did not set mine here today to process automatically because I didn't want to have a delay of if it took, you know, seconds or even minutes to take care of. But you can open each of these up and also see what happened. So in this case, the email, we didn't have a recipient in the email. So this would be a notification back to our team saying there was no email. It was just the job owner. So you always then also get the information about what happened with it. Now, there's also rules besides these type of flows that can be done where you're actually able to, when you're actually able to look at it and say, and I'm going to give you one that Brandon did quite a while ago, just because it was a nice one that I wanted to look at. That is one where it actually looks at a set of business processes. And that was like a lead to opportunity, let's say. So a lead to opportunity uses a workflow, but that workflow also picks up what we call a business rule. So what a business rule is on top of the workflow where actually things happen, a business rule says, here is what I need to make that kick off. And I'll show you now why a business rule in some cases helps a workflow. So step one, I'm looking at, is the contact existing? It's a yes or no. So I'm saying I only want to see if the contact exists is a 1. If it exists, I move on. If it's a 2, I might do something different. So a 1 would mean that maybe then from there I can go to the automated marketing qualification. But if it was a 2, I might trigger a process that creates the lead, and then it starts to cycle over again. Then once we go to the lead portion, the same thing happens again. Now I want to say, okay, now are the cells ready? Is the prospecting ready? So again, I have more sequences, and you can do this as many times as you need. So basically you're building condition upon condition. But when we get to this prospecting qualification, I also want to know the purchase time frame, budget. So all this information is coming from the original lead and things I'm bringing in. And the reason I need this is, so this is the time that I can hand it off to sales because A, did it get qualified? And then sales accepted it. So once that happens, you kind of get to see, and this right here that I'm trying to show you down here, actually, if I could get it to blow up, would be like a step-by-step of this that only is, in that type of format where you can throw it. So in this case, you can also see that this one is inactive. So you can inactivate these and activate these as anytime you need to. So this might be one that we started down a path with and then changed minds. So I just want to pop one in here again, and again, just to make a new one, just to show you a couple things. So A, we give it a process name. And then we give it a category. Is this an action, a business flow, or is it a workflow? So once I select workflow, you'll see that it dynamically changes everything down here. Then the entity is what is it that you want to trigger something? Like, is it the account? Is it an address? As you can see here, you have a lot of information through here that you can go look for. Is it a case, lead, etc.? So a lot of things like that can happen. And now what I'm going to do with this one is, let's just say that it's from an account. Then you can say, okay, this is a new process, or I can take one from an existing template that I might already have. The existing template will just bring in all my actions and conditions, and then I would have to go in and set the wins, the actual values, let's say. So by doing it from a new process or a blank process, the reason it does that is now it lets me do something. So let's say that I want to add a stage or a step. So I'm going to tell it that I want to check a condition. And this might be is the GP box selected? And then I can say, okay, if it is, what is the condition for that? So this is now where I would come in here and say, okay, and if you remember on our account card, so we're going to look for account, and then underneath account, oops, sorry, I'm going to tell it that I want to see the GP customer equals yes. If it does, then I would say I want to see, does the renewal date and this is where I could say is less than, excuse me. This is where you can say that, say like, is it less than, and I'm just going to do it this way, is it less than 11 or 12.1? Now this could be the same as by putting a little more rules in there, I can say, and then take this 30 days prior. So I've given my two conditions now, and if it does that, oh, come on, yes. Okay. Once you have your condition, I'm going to now add a next step, which is to default an action. And that action could be create record. I'm going to create a email. And then this is where you can say that once it gets in here, I would say that I'm using default values. I'm going to tell to look in account, and under account, I want to see the, say the billing account. My bad. Okay, this it's this not, there we go. This is where I can say to include the phone address, include the renewal date, and then even, you know, just some. So again, just to give you the idea is once you conclude all this and do the save and close, then basically is your last step would be to actually tell it to send the email. So once all that's done and you did it, you've really created a workflow. There are 541 workflows, excuse me, 341 workflows out of the box. And then we can go in and, you know, you can create the ones on your own. So if there's any questions, you'd like to take those now. If not, and you want more information on this and actually examples based on some things you have, feel free to reach out to your sales rep who will get a hold of one of us and we can take a look at it. Thank you. And Judy?
Thank you, Alan. You know, workflows are just my favorite thing. They save so much time. And I highly encourage you to test them out in your own testing environment and then set them into action, because it is just such a fabulous time saver. So it's just great to see how this can work. And if there's so many already out of the box, practice with them too. So thank you again for attending this workflow training, and we hope to see you next time. Have a great day.